Hello, welcome back to another video of the Transfer Portal CFB presented by NoContextCFB. It's all about the quarterback position today. As always, I'm joined by Andrewster, but special guest, legendary QB guru and coach, Quincy Avery. What's up, man? How are you doing?
What's going on, fellas?
Nothing
I'm
much.
I'm ready for a great video. This is gonna be a lot of fun. Quincy knows the quarterback position more than most people. I would say more than a lot of people. So this is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he definitely does. And you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts, who's absolutely transcending. I'm sure Quincy had a decent role to play in that. You love to see what Jalen is doing and hope that all these other quarterbacks that you're able to work with and help out get to develop into these great athletes. It's amazing to see.
Yeah, I've been truly fortunate to get connected with some really talented guys and be able to help them out as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. So back in the spring, like you just talk about connecting with a bunch of guys. 15 HBCU quarterbacks you got to work with at an HBCU camp. I'm just curious, like, what was that experience like, and who really stood out to you at the camp?
There's the HBCU camp was a really cool time, and I was a graduate of HBCU, went to Morehouse College, so it gave me opportunity to kind of get back to some things that I wanted to do. Work with some guys who I had a lot in common with. I got to partner up with an organization called HBCU Elite, who did a lot of the groundwork in terms of putting it all together. So that was cool. But there were so many guys who I thought played really, really well. But the thing is, like, I got a better understanding of some of the lack of resources that some of these guys were experiencing at these HBCUs. So it's something that I want to make sure that I could help out as much as I can. I have an opportunity to work with a lot of college athletes, and I see a lot of the things that they get, a lot of the resources that they have. So I want to make sure if there's anything I can do in terms of training the best of the best, because these guys are talented enough to play at the next level. And I want to make sure I'm doing my part to help them reach their goals.
Yeah, it's sad that they don't have a lot of the resources. I mean, we can look back at the start of the season, the Florida A&M whole debacle, where it was so sad that they had like a third of their team not able to play against North Carolina, which is a big game because that's a Power 5 team. But obviously a great job that you're doing. And obviously there's a lot of talented quarterbacks in the HBCUs. There were last year, there are some this year, mainly Shedeur Sanders, but there are others. What quarterbacks have you seen just take a massive step in their development this year?
At NFL or college level? We're talking all levels.
Talk both.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll say Geno Smith is someone who I think that people are saying is taking a massive leap in terms of their production. Just wasn't a starter last year, didn't necessarily get the opportunity to get now. And when he got him previously, I think we saw flashes. Like, oh, okay, he's really, really talented. And you could talk to any of his former teammates who had the opportunity to practice with him day in and day out. They would say that he's always been really, really talented, but he's playing so well above the neck, like making great decisions, seeing pressures, seeing all the things that he needs to see in order to put himself in position to really be successful. And he is playing like a legit MVP. And then I could talk about Jalen Hurts. I mean, we're watching Jalen Hurts literally transform himself in one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And he's not only is he accurate, but he's able to throw on the move. He's able to do all the things that you want to see a quarterback do in order to be successful. And it's really, really cool to see two guys who worked so hard to obtain something, and now they're able to, start reaping some of the benefits of the work that they put in.
Mm-hmm. They're balling out at the NFL level. And as we look at the college football landscape, there are so many talented quarterbacks in college football. Are there a few guys that you see that you would really love to work with and help develop?
Yeah. And I'll just talk about guys that I don't work with, and I think that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Richardson is someone who I look at him like, man, I would really like to work with him. He has so many raw physical tools, physical gifts and abilities. I think that he has a chance to be really, really special. I think we all see the flashes.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quarterback out of Syracuse who I've watched a few times. Schrader is his last name. He is like physically like freaky. Like he has some real tools to do some things that I don't think there's many other quarterbacks in the country who can do. And he's someone like if he gets the opportunity to really get some training, really get some work with, I think that he'll have an opportunity to have a long career in the NFL and get drafted early.
So obviously we've talked about NFL, college. I want to jump down to high school because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't even start in high school anymore. It starts in, youth leagues. But are there any high school quarterbacks currently like going into the 2023 class that you've heard of or you've seen a little bit of that you're really intrigued by?
Are we talking seniors or are we talking just anybody?
It can be anybody.
There's a guy I work with in Atlanta named Julian Juju Lewis. He's in ninth grade. He's probably the number one quarterback in ninth grade. He's probably the number one player in the country in his grade.
Sheesh.
He is so reminiscent of a lot of the guys that I've worked with before. Either like CJ Stroud a little bit. You see a little bit of Deshaun in him, right? And the only thing that I watch him and think like, man, if you can just not get bored of doing things the right way, like you are going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country your senior year, and you're going to be able to go whatever school you would like, and you're going to be able to do whatever you'd like at the college level because he's that gifted.
Heck of a name too. That's just
Yeah,
a
right?
really good QB name. How about like what's that number one trait that you're looking for in a quarterback that you know that you could help develop like off of?
So I know people are going to talk about like arm talent. I think that everybody knows you have to have a requisite level of arm talent in order to be successful as a quarterback. You have to be able to move a little bit, create space in the pocket. But the number one trait to me is the ability to respond from adversity. Because there's going to be some shit that goes wrong. You're going to have a difficult time with something. And there's guys who have never bounced back from their one difficult moment. Right. And if I can do my part as a quarterback trainer to just give them difficult moments throughout their career and help them be able to respond to those things, I think that that's me doing my part.
I'm glad you brought up stuff like arm talent. The quarterback position is ever changing. We've kind of seen the shift in the quote unquote ideal quarterback go from, maybe a guy that was a little bit more, mentally tough in those early 2000s drafts. Nowadays, you want that freak athlete, super large build. Everyone's kind of trying to chase that next Josh Allen. How do you see the quarterback position changing over the next few years? Or do you think that it's in a really good spot right now when it comes to traits and development?
I think that people may be putting too much emphasis on the ability to run. Like the ability to create and extend plays is huge, right? Because coaches are going to make mistakes. When you bring pressure, I got to be able to avoid that, right? But there needs to be a bigger emphasis on accuracy, right? And accuracy is the number one trait. If you're athletic and can move and you can be accurate, that is way more important than like just having a big, strong arm and being fast, right? So I think that college coaches are going to like understand better that if I can find somebody who's really, really accurate, I can do whatever I want as a coach. And I think that it's really hard to recruit that because you don't see it as much at the high school level. But when you find guys who can be super accurate with the football, I think that you got a chance to be special.
Liam, I'm gonna. Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say I'm so glad you brought that up because I completely agree. And one thing I've always said is I love when guys use their legs to accentuate their arm. It's one of my favorite things. Liam, you can go ahead. Sorry, I just want to throw that in there.
No, you're good. You're good. But when you're like talking about that, the first thing that came to my mind was 2024 draft, Caleb Williams. His movement paired with the accuracy that he's got is truly innate. But gotta focus on 2023 draft because that's coming up. It's going to be CJ Stroud and Bryce Young going head to head for that QB1 spot. I know you kind of spoke about Stroud earlier, but like, what about these two guys like really just stands out to you and pops off the screen? Because both of them are just so special in their own ways.
They're two phenomenal quarterbacks. The thing that I like the most about Bryce is he's so small, but he's so twitchy, right? So things that should bring down a quarterback of his stature, they don't, right? He's able to shake defenders off. We saw a lot of that in that Texas game, right? They'd have free rushers. They might have missed a protection. He was still able to avoid the rush and then be able to He both scrambles and throws the ball after a scramble, like keeping his eyes up in the pocket, stressing the defense, and pushes that ball down the field. A lot different than CJ in that way. CJ has the ability in the pocket. You see him extend plays, but it's almost always to throw the ball, right? You don't see him scramble to run, and that's something that it's interesting to see how people are going to take that. We know he's athletic enough to run, right? Because you see the things he does in the pocket. But both of those guys are so dynamic after their ability to move to still be really, really accurate. I think Bryce is a little bit more in the run game in terms of quarterback run, not as big. So I'm not sure how he'll hold up doing that in the NFL. But I think CJ just has a liver arm right now. So it's going to be interesting. Like, how are these things judged and how are they critiqued at the next level?
On the topic of the 2023 draft, I have to bring up my guy. If you know me, you know I love Cameron Ward. Washington State from Incarnate Word. I just want to get your opinion on what you've seen from him and his potential as an NFL quarterback.
Cam Ward is definitely an NFL quarterback, so we agree there. If I had a chance to sit down and have a conversation with Cam, I would say, look, you're really, really talented. You got an opportunity to be a very high draft pick. If I was you, I'd come back to college for one more year. Not because you're not talented enough, because I think that extra year development will give you two things. It'll allow you to go higher in the draft, and it's going to allow you to make a lot more guaranteed money, and you're going to be a lot more prepared when you get to the NFL. You got an opportunity to get a second contract, be really, really special, and be in a much less competitive draft class. I think that he's someone who could play football for a very long time. And it's so cool to see somebody go from the level he was at, super under recruited, play ball at a high level in college, and then jump up a division and still be able to rip stuff up. I don't know if I can cuss or not, but he's able to play at a really high level. So I'm super excited about him.
Yeah, not necessarily on that Bailey Zappi career path because Ward was able to get to the Power Five and everything, but you just love to see guys on the grind like that, incredibly under recruited, go to the FCS, destroy there, get up to the FBS and keep doing their thing. Cam Ward needs to stay. I do agree. And just the national recognition that he would get with one more year would just blow his name up astronomically. And he could really benefit greatly from that. Earlier, you mentioned Garrett Schrader, right? But who are some other like low-key quarterbacks that football fans need to get familiar with and start hyping up? Grayson McCall is one name that comes to mind for me when we're looking at the NFL.
So if we're talking about this next year draft class, I think we got a lot of them. But I'm gonna talk to you guys about a guy who isn't starting right now, but is gonna be really, really special. Drew Alar out of Penn State. He's behind Sean Clifford right now, but he is. I watched some stuff he did this spring camp. If they didn't have Sean Clifford, someone who was so entrenched as a starter, and if it would have been a battle, he might be on the field. But he is special, and I love Sean Clifford to death. Drew just has the ability to do some things. I'm not sure that there's many other people who can do it like he's doing it.
Yeah, he's insane.
He is. He's so much fun to watch. But I want to prematurely jump to the 2024 draft. Obviously, there's those guys like Caleb, the guys like I think Drake May is going to be a heavily talked about name. And then obviously, if Cam Ward does stay, he'll be in that conversation. Who are some guys you're really intrigued by going into the next college football season to watch their name rise up those 2024 boards?
I'm not. I gotta look. I actually just sent an email about this. So I always look for young guys who are coming up. I'll talk to you guys about. I mean, I think if Anthony Richardson stays in school another year, I think he's going to be really good. So I'm gonna talk to some guys who like may get drafted, might not, but I think that they're really good. I had Cam Ward; he's at the top of the list. Cole Snyder out of Buffalo. I think that he's actually a really, really talented quarterback. There is K. Klubnik. I think he's special.
Yeah.
He'll have another year after that, so it'll be 2025. Then we got MJ Morris out of
yes.
Did you see him his first game out there? Didn't get a ton of time with the starters. Hasn't had a bunch of reps, like really, really good. And then I have a guy who's playing FCS ball right now. University of New Hampshire. You guys probably are gonna be like, who the hell are you talking about? His name is Max Brosmer. Be throwing dots. He's super, super accurate. Don't know how well he moves, right? I've seen him a little bit. I mean, he doesn't miss. I had him out actually for a weekend with all the big time college quarterbacks. like literally probably the most accurate person I've ever seen over a whole weekend. So he's somebody who I'm really interested to watch to see how that goes for him.
I'll have
That's
to
high
check him
praise.
out for sure. Yeah, that's
Mm.
definitely high praise. We're too busy watching Tim DeMore at Fordham instead of watching New Hampshire. I'll even throw out like two more guys. Preston Stone from SMU has first career start on Saturday. Went down with the broken collarbone, but dude, first throw of his first start on the road is a 75-yard touchdown pass to Rashee Rice. He's going to take off next year, Preston Stone. And then, their QB3 right now at TCU, Sam Jackson, is just unreal athlete. Like, he might be the fastest player on that team. And you see the speed that TCU's got?
Is that the kid from Chicago?
I'm not sure, honestly.
I think he's from
might be.
Chicago. But I've seen Stone play. I saw him in high school doing the Elite 11 circuit, and he was always someone who was really, really impressive. So I'm excited kind of about the things that he's doing. He's going to be special for sure. We agree there.
Yeah, it does look like Sam's from Chicago as well.
Sam's from Chicago. He is a freaky athlete. I just want to make sure I was talking about the right guy before I gave him. I want to see him continue to progress in the passing game, right? Because he's someone like we were talking about earlier. It's like a dynamic athlete who I think can improve as a quarterback, just polish up a little bit more. And when he does that, I think that defense are going to have a very, very hard time with him.
Yeah, like when TCU moves on from Duggan after this year, for Sam Jackson just coming, he's going to take college football by storm. And I mentioned earlier, like, I got to ask you about receiver because, yes, you're a QB guru and everything, but you're watching so many QBs that wide receivers got to catch your eye at some point. Who are some of the stellar receivers that you've really taken notice of are incredibly high on?
I think that everybody's going to say the name that I'm about to say. Marvin Harrison Jr. Because I watched so much Ohio State, and I saw there was a back shoulder ball that CJ threw a little low, and it was that, like, to be that big, moving that fast, and be able to have that much body control. I was like, oh, okay, he's definitely special. I think he's bigger than that, faster than that, stronger than that. Like, will he be better? I don't know, but he works harder than anybody else. I'm just a huge fan of that Ohio State receiver room. I'm trying to think. Jordan Addison, he's cool. He's not someone who I think like, oh, this guy to me strikes me as like first round, first, like the first receiver off the board type talent. So I wish I was more in tune with the receivers, but I'm locked in.
Yeah, Addison's movement though, like he be gliding out there.
Does he?
He's so smooth.
Runs really good routes. I'm a fan of his, but I think you have to be so dynamic when you're being taken with that top receiver pick, but definitely a first round talent, obviously.
I want to jump into more of a development standpoint right here. The pre-draft process, it's pivotal for all prospects, but quarterbacks, it's really, really pivotal. What are quarterbacks focusing on during this period where they've kind of put everything they can on tape, but they still want to improve for these teams so that they can see their talents at the events like the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, Combine, Pro Days?
All depends on who it is in terms of exactly what you'll be working for. Everybody's got like a bespoken plan. It's so specific to them. But I'll tell you, like, one of the things that everybody's gonna have to work on is some NFL footwork, back to the defense, play action movements, and just being able really good at tying your feet to the eyes in terms of going through progressions. You're not always gonna see it early in your career, but you want to show people that you have the ability to do it so we can showcase some special things at your pro day. And when I orchestrate a pro day, the things that I try and do always is I want to accentuate what they're good at. Like, I want to show everybody this guy's really good at these things. Then I want to go and show just a couple areas that people might have talked about, like he needs to improve or needs to be able to show he can do those things. And then I want to look at the teams who are looking at them and be able to create a script that shows a lot of the things that they do in their offense. So that's kind of how I build it. Show what they're good at, show what we've improved at, and then show what he can do in your offense.
Yeah, big fan of that, and really appreciate you coming on, Quincy. Really appreciate your insight, incredible insight. And for those that are watching, like, Quincy's Twitter handle has been on the screen this entire time. If you're not following him on Twitter by now, what the heck are you doing?
I appreciate you guys having me on.
This was a lot of fun. We appreciate your insight.
For sure. Thanks, guys.